Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, my friends. It's Sunday evening. It's 9 p.m. Israel time. And basically, I just finished teaching a little while ago, and I had no real thought to do a show today because Sunday is my international day, and we work on New York Times, on the New York Times time zone. So, but during my working with one of my students, we talked about Adele. It's something that is very much on my mind, has been very much on my mind. I already did one show. Now I'm going to do another one. And it was very interesting. She said to me, Miriam, do you think she prays? And it was something that came completely out of left field. I was not prepared for this kind of a question, and I really hadn't thought about it until she mentioned it to me, and we began talking about it because, of course, my book is called The Voice, a spiritual approach to singing, speaking, and communicating the Kabbalah of the voice. And there is no question that in everything that I do and in my work on every level, there is always, and there will always be, a determined amount of spiritual resource. Because I, as a person, simply don't believe that it is possible to have career, a medium-sized career, a small career, it really doesn't matter, but anything that has to do with the public or that has to do with giving of yourself. So whether or not you're a singer, an opera singer, or you're a pop singer, or whatever it is, whether you're involved in sports and doing professional sport work, I don't think I know anyone who, before they go on stage or before they enter a ring or before they step into a tennis match, into the arena, that somewhere down the line there isn't this connector, there isn't that connection between you, the person who is there to do their absolute maximum, their absolute best to give of themselves in every possible way. You're out there, no matter what it is that you're doing, to win. This week was a very big week for me for many different reasons. One of them was that for the first time since I live in Israel, it's now 7 years, that I've had to give a professional lecture on listening and connecting to your inner voice, which is a lecture that I do in Italian and I do in English and I do it all over the world, but I've never done it a very professional, very eclectic atmosphere, and it was outside, which is something that I would never, ever, ever do under normal circumstances, but I didn't know. And so here I was And I had to speak in front of these people who were doctors and lawyers and very, very, very professional. And I feel myself very much on the level of being able to speak to them about the work that I do, about the inner voice, about listening and connecting. But even with all experience that I have, and I'm smiling because I'm teaching over 30 years all over the world, and I've written 10 books, and my work brings me really into very interesting environments. But I don't think I've ever begun a lecture anywhere in the world without taking that 2-3 minutes and connecting myself to God. Now you can call him by any name that you want because he's the same for everyone. You can be an atheist and say that God does not exist, and that's perfectly okay with me. I can only tell you what I've experienced and what I've experienced with my students and what I've experienced with people in the business, and mainly, obviously, show business, the art business, people who are involved publicly, basically people who are involved in providing the outside world with something that only they can do. Okay, there are thousands of vocal teachers in the world. There are vocal coaches. There are so many, but there is no one who can do what I can do. And there is no one that can do what they can do. And every single person who is doing anything, it's precisely and exactly who they are, what they must be doing, and for which and for what they were born. There's a very interesting commentary in last week's portion of the Torah, which said basically that the thing that is the hardest thing for you, the thing that is giving you the biggest headache, the most difficult problems to achieve, is exactly the one that you must be achieving and is the mission of your life. Now, being a ballerina is not the mission of my life, but it was the mission of a Pavlova. Being the greatest female voice and the highest paid female singer in the world is not a small thing, and it's a mission in life to play music, to sing music, to write music, to be standing in front of thousands and thousands of people and entering into their hearts, entering into their souls, giving of yourself, your lifeblood, finest, that you can pull out of yourself? Well, people, there is you, and then there is above you. Then there is something that each of us needs to hold on to in the fabulous times and say thank you in the fabulous times. I am sure that when Adele finishes a concert, or when Pavarotti finished a concert, or when Andrea Bocelli finishes a concert, or when Rostropovich finished a concert, you get my point. There isn't anyone who doesn't say, thank God, that was just marvelous. In other words, what am I saying? The idea of being an ego, the idea of saying, wow, this is me, and am I great? Did it again, and I'm the greatest, and I'm the most powerful, and I am just the cat meow. That, maybe I'm naive, but I really don't think that any great artist has that in him. I think that the greater you get, the more humble you must become. Because one thing I can tell you is when the voice starts coming out, and when the voice arrives in the place where it is connected to that height, when it's connected to that brilliance, when it's connected to that power, when it's connected to being able basically to do anything that you want, you're not standing on the ground. You're not standing on the ground. You're another sphere. You're in another place, and the voice has taken you into that place. In sports, I've heard many, many great coaches talk about the fact that at the beginning, before you jump, before you run, before you ice skate, before you ski, doesn't matter. You already see yourself at the end. You already see yourself winning. You've already projected. You've already projected the win. 10 years ago, maybe more, I don't even remember. The great, great, great book of The Secret came out. And when I read The Secret, of course, like everybody else, I smiled and I said, but this is what I learned in the Torah since I'm a child. The idea of grace, the idea of gratefulness, gratitude, the idea of knowing that there is something that is guiding you, something that you're attracting, that because of that attraction that you have, okay, because of that special something that makes you into that extraordinary personality that you are. But that special something is a gift. And that came part and parcel with all your other gifts that you got in your life. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can become the greatest swimmer in the world, or the greatest gymnast in the world, or the greatest female voice in the world today, or the greatest opera singer in the world today, violinist, whatever. You get what I'm talking about. In order for you to get that, in order for you to have that, in order for you to be humble enough to receive that, something else is necessary. And to get back to the voice, my book is 90, or my books, I should say, are 90% technique, vocal technique. Different from anybody else. My teaching is not to be compared with anybody else, and that's not because of ego, but that's simply the way it is. The voices that I teach sound different. The voices that come out of my studio are called souverain, superior. There is one young baritone, no name. Okay, when he did an extraordinary recording last year, recording won first place worldwide classical, and the maestro, who was the conductor, wrote him a letter and said, there's no conversation about the voice because it's extraordinary, but your language was better than that of the singers that sing in their mother tongue. In other words, he was taught the music, he was taught the language, and of course, that was our work together, thank God, but better than native speakers. That to me was extraordinary. And here is somebody who is extremely, extremely humble. And when he sings, what comes out of him, and I love teaching him because all the years that we're together, he's never once not gone in the way that he was directed. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to watch a voice that came out of the dregs become an extraordinary instrument. I have many students who come to me after many different teachers. And we work very, very hard at repositioning and reconstructing the instrument. But as I wrote, there is an evident factor in all of the work that we do. And it's not that I teach that factor, okay? That factor arrives in the work, through the work, to the student. all of a sudden they find themselves drawn to this beautiful, beautiful holy space that gives them a place where they can be free, a place where they can be comfortable, a place that takes them to a place of love, a place of gratitude, a place of great, but without ego of great. That doesn't mean that a person is not a person and they're not happy about being fantastic and terrific and wonderful. All of that is perfectly okay and perfectly normal, perfectly natural. But what I'm talking about a special kind of an answer that you get when you go into your performance or into your event or into your work every day with an attitude of guidance, an attitude of something above you that cares, that loves you, whether or not, again, I'm saying this, you call that type of spirituality religion is of no importance to me. What's important to me is that is something for you to hold on to when there is nothing to hold on to. When you're standing in front of thousands of people or hundreds of people or one person, you're on your own. It's between you and them. And how you speak and how you sing and how you behave and how you present yourself, that is the key to whether or not they are going to be attracted to you. They're going to love you. They're going to understand you. They're going to want to be with you. They're going to want to buy your recordings. They're going to love you in their life. And no matter which discipline you talk about the same thing. You know, I travel a lot. I work a lot in Italy. I work a lot with very religious people who are not Jewish. We talk about the inner voice. We connect with each other on a level, okay, that is not offensive because it's under the blanket of religion, but it's encompassing and warm and loving. And when you are performing and when you are a performer, you have to have that love. You have to have that spirituality. You have to have that connection. You have to be connected. And if you're not, and if you lose it, then you have to find your way back and grab onto it for all the power in the world. and say, okay, I've done things maybe that weren't so great, that wasn't so 100%, and maybe I said the wrong thing and I did the wrong thing. Never mind. I want to come back. Please help me. A broken heart and a contrite spirit is what religiousness talks about. I talk about it as being love. I talk about it as being absolute and total giving and receiving. And when you can give, you can receive. And when you can receive, you can give. And I wish you, with all of my heart, to take this to yourself from me. Use it when you need it. Use it when you don't need it. Be with it. Live with it. Come and let it into your life, and you will see that you will feel better, perform better, and be happier. Goodbye, my friends. I'll see you soon. God bless.